Welcome back to The Heat. We continue our discussion now about the fight against ISIL in Iraq and Syria. Joining us is Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer. He's a senior fellow with the London Center for Policy Research. Tony, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Good to be
Talking about the fight that is going on now, the United States continues its airstrikes against ISIL targets. I want you to take a listen to what Leon Panetta, the former defense secretary, former director of the CIA, had to say about this battle. Let's watch.
In order to do it, you need to have some boots on the ground in order to obviously embed and train those forces. And in Syria, what we'd like to do is to have the opposition forces be those boots on the ground. But if that is not enough, if the military says we've got to do more, then I think the president ought to be open to that.
Well, he made 2 points there. One is the administration here will tell us that, well, there are boots on the ground. They're just not U.S. boots on the ground. You know, they're Syrian boots on the ground or Iraqi boots on the ground. Leon Panetta is actually departing from administration policy here. They do not want U.S. troops on the ground. What do you make of that?
They don't. He's right and wrong. He's correct that boots on the ground are necessary. As you point out, we have the Kurds, we have some Iraqis, we have some Syrians all engaged. The balance of force right now is frankly not focused nor effective. You have to have a level of U.S. boots on the ground to do the coordination, the special operations missions, and for goodness sake, the actual lasing of targets for our bombs to drop on where we want them to go, especially in urban environments. So, and what I disagree with him on is the whole idea that the Syrian rebels, militia, should be that force. We should not go to there. That's not in our interest because we don't want to further destabilize Syria. Let me be very clear on this. Anytime you have ungoverned space, you have the potential for ISIS or ISIS-like organizations to fill that vacuum. We saw that, we've seen that, we've observed that in Libya. Where Libya occurred, we left ungoverned spaces. Ansar al-Sharia and other al-Qaeda elements filled it instantly. Now you have the black flag flying over every city in Libya. We don't want to go down that road. So yes, we need boots on the ground. Some of them must be U.S. boots on the ground. No, we don't want the Syrian opposition because we don't want to further destabilize Syria to see it become a failed state like Libya.
What kind of a role are the Arab allies playing in this war right now?
A mixed bag. Vice President Joe Biden actually spoke the truth and got in trouble for it, or the fact that some of the allies have been helping fund ISIS from behind the scenes. With that said, I'd like to believe they've woke up, that they recognize now that funding them may indeed destabilize their own long-term stability within the region. We have solid allies we should be relying upon more. The Egyptians, the Jordanians, I think the Saudis are coming around. I think we have to look at who we can best work with and array them in what I would call a permanent treaty-type relationship. We have a coalition. Let's bring it to the next step to make it into a formal treaty organization that's binding, much like NATO. NATO worked very well for Europe. Arguably, I get this, well, the Arabs aren't ready for it. Too bad. It's time we figure out what's best to try to help fix the situation and let them grow into it rather than assume that they can just become a NATO overnight. What we need to find, Anand, is actual forces which are effective and that we can work with rather than hoping that we can find someone to partner out there with eventually. And that's where we're at right now.
One of the United States' aims is to try and dissuade young Muslims from joining ISIL, from being recruited by ISIL. How does it go about that?
Well, ISIL has been very effective in putting together a Madison Avenue quality recruitment campaign. I'm not sure if you've watched some of the videos online, but they are very slick. They're talking about all the benefits of joining ISIS, all the things that you want to do as a young man. Essentially, it's the French Foreign Legion of jihadis. Right. So it's very slick. And the other thing, they appear to be winning. If Kobani falls, it shows more prowess on their side, the strong horse. The strong horse is a very strong image within the culture. Therefore, with a combination of very effective recruiting and very effective operations, they are literally pulling people in.
Okay, you mentioned Kobani, and I wonder if you could really be quick on this one.
Sure.
The fact that this battle is going on for Kobani, that it's a border town, it's a Syrian border town. What does that tell us about the effectiveness of U.S. airstrikes?
It tells them that they've not been effective today. They've not actually slowed down anything. And if Kobani falls, ISIS will have a stretch of land contiguous from the border of Turkey all the way to Baghdad. And we know Baghdad is now being under siege. So it's a very bad for our side if it doesn't. And frankly, the airstrikes have not been sufficient. I think they had 5 sorties one day against these. We should have 5 sorties every 15 minutes, not 5 sorties a day. It's not serious.
What do you make of the role of Turkey in this?
Turkey has a brigade sitting on the border with armor. If they decided to move, they could overtake Kobani, push ISIS out in an afternoon.
Why aren't they doing it?
I believe that the governance of Turkey has problems. There's some mixed allegiance there, if you will, because there's evidence that the Turkish government looked the other way to allow ISIS to formulate and be resupplied through its borders.
So they're saying one thing, doing another thing.
Absolutely.
Right, Tony, we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And that is it for this edition of The Heat. We'd love to hear from you, so please send us your questions, comments, and story ideas to theheat@cctv-america.com. And to continue the conversation, join us on Facebook @CCTV America. I'm Anand Naidu in Washington. Thanks for being with us.